I always say to my children and grandchildren that if they want to live longer, they must hear the doctors. If the goal is to prosper, it is better to learn from those who have already built business. But if the goal is to live with more wisdom, the answer is to pay attention to the elders. After all, an elderly person is not just someone with wrinkles on his face, he is an open book written by his own life, full of lessons that no course could teach. I will tell a story that marks this idea well. When he was around 25, he was one of those young people full of energy, ambition, and the certainty that he knew everything. I argued with everyone, defended my opinions even when I had no full conviction in them, until one day my grandfather looked at me with a deep expression and said, "You're smart, but you lack wisdom. You're smart because you speak well, but you lack wisdom because you can't shut up at the right time to reflect." At the time, I was hurt. He laughed and added, "Want to be 60% more insightful than most, so train your mind to ask the right questions. A good question is worth 1,000 answers ready." I confess that I did not understand on time. I thought intelligence was to accumulate knowledge, not asking questions. But over time, I came to understand what he meant. Have you noticed how some people live in autopilot? School, work, marriage, retirement as if followed a predetermined script, while others see opportunities where no one sees. They find creative solutions and turn obstacles into steps. What is the difference between them? It is no money, no contacts, no innate talent. It is the ability to think differently. Here is a simple method, so basic that it can even seem banal at first glance. But it is precisely the simplicity that makes it powerful. I've seen this technique change the lives of friends, students, and even strangers that one day I shared with them. After just a week applying the method, they were surprised. It seems that my mind woke up. I started seeing things that previously passed. I make faster and more assertive decisions. What magic is this? Today I will reveal the secret to you. But first, let me ask a question. Why are you reading this text now? It's not just because the title promises to make you wiser. Go deeper. What really motivated you? A desire for change, the desire to feel more capable, or maybe the fear of staying behind. Think about it. This moment of reflection is already the first step. True growth does not start with ready answers, but with unexpected questions. I remember a conversation I had in Tel Aviv with a very respected rabbi. I asked him how to develop a sharper mind, how to understand people and life at a deeper level. He looked at me in silence for a moment and replied, "Don't look for advice, look for questions." At the time, I didn't understand, but over time, I realized that though seeking advice is dependent on others, who seeks the right questions find their own answers. And this is how true wisdom is born. Now, I will share this method with you. It is as simple as drinking a glass of water, but carries with it centuries of practical wisdom transmitted from generation to generation. It is not book theory or internet psychology. It is a proven practice. My grandfather learned from his, I learned from my grandfather, and today I go ahead for you. But warning, once you dominate this technique, you can't go back. Your mind will begin to work differently. You will notice details you once ignored, will develop a habit that will accompany you for life and can apply it in any situation at work, at home, studies, or even a simple market negotiation. People will ask themselves, why does he look so insightful? Why does everything work out for him? And you will know the answer. Many people think that to be smarter, they need to read hundreds of books, decorate encyclopedias, or memorize philosophers. Then they frustrate. I have a head full of information, but my life doesn't change because intelligence is not a deposit of knowledge of others. It is a tool that should be used every day. And this is where this method is as efficient as ignored. Ask questions. Always, everywhere. Above all, it looks obvious, doesn't it? But let's deepen. My grandfather used to say, "An answer closes a door, one question opens a world of possibilities." When we receive a ready answer, our mind settles down. But when we ask a question, we call a search process. The brain starts connecting ideas, analyzing different angles, and creating new perspectives. The more questions, the thought gets. Try it for a week, every day. Make yourself at least 3 reflective questions. For example, why did I feel that way today? What could have done different? What did this situation taught me? In a few days, you will notice a change. It will see beyond the obvious, will come out of automatic mode and see details that once escaped. I will tell you a personal case. When I was younger, I worked in a small store on my uncle. My job was to sell, receive money, and serve customers with education. But I noticed that although we sold the same products to the same people, the sales were always bigger than mine. I was frustrated. Is he deceiving me? Until I made a question. What does he do differently? I started to watch him and found that while I just showed the products, He asked customers questions. Why do you need this fabric? Is it for a party? For daily use? To give someone? While the customer answered, he already understood the real need and offered the best option. Then I understood that the secret was not in the product, but in the art of asking. Since then, I've applied this principle to everything, and it works in any area, in business, relationships, studies, and even when barking the price of a tomato at the fair. There is yet another valuable technique in Jewish tradition. Never content with the first answer. When you ask a question and an idea comes to mind, don't stop there. Ask yourself, what would be a second possibility? And a third? It is usually in the less obvious alternatives that the best solutions are. An acquaintance of mine once complained, I have no money, so I can't expand my business. That was the first answer. The second, maybe I can find a partner. The third, how about starting to a lesser extent? But starting, that's when you put the third option into practice that the business took off. Finally, the hardest questions are the ones we ask ourselves, just the ones we avoid the most, because the answers can hurt. But it is in them that the power of transformation is. Ask yourself honestly, why do I waste time on things that don't take me anywhere? Why get angry with people who do what I would like to do, but I don't do it? Why do I go to my goals week after week, always apologize? I myself started asking these questions about 20 years ago, and that's what changed everything. And do you know something? I understood something fundamental. Half of my problems were not others, but in me. The moment this truth fell like a lit lamp, it all began to transform. 5. The questions to others. There is a wise principle in the Jewish tradition that says, if you want to understand a person, don't speak, ask. People love to share their stories, and when we ask the right questions, we gain access to their knowledge, their experiences and emotions. It is an invaluable gift. I learned to ask the elderly at the square bank, the children in the park, even strangers on the bus. And I discovered something surprising. Each person carries a unique wisdom. The problem is that most do not bother to ask. 6. How to turn this into habit. Now comes the most important part, how to make it all a daily practice. I will share a simple method. Take a notebook. Every night, write down 3 questions about your day, just the questions, not the answers. The next day, try to find them. Sometimes it will take a minute, sometimes a week, but your brain will be constantly moving, seeking connections, analyzing. It is like a mental training. In a week, you will realize that you are thinking more deeply. I know what you might be thinking. 3 questions. It seems silly, but it is exactly in the simplicity that power resides. On my own way, I saw people who, thanks to this habit, have changed their careers, saved relationships, and found innovative ideas for their business. 7. Jewish wisdom in practice. There is a saying that says, the fool seeks answers, bio seeks questions. They are not empty words. A question is like a key that opens doors in mind. The more keys you have, the more doors can open. Imagine, in a week you will have 21 questions, in a month, 90, in a year, more than 1,000 keys to 1,000 doors. Do you think your mind will remain the same or reflect? Are you willing to live a week following this rule, to try and see what happens? If so, in 7 days, you will be at least 60% more insightful. It is not magic, it is neuroplasticity in action. 8. The conclusion. We start with a simple idea. The mind is not an information deposit, but a tool. If we don't use it, it rusts. If we use it wisely, even the most common mind can become an instrument of genius. The secret? To ask. It sounds basic, but that is what makes a person smarter in a matter of days. Someone may think, okay, it sounds beautiful, but it's too simple. Do complex things don't work better? The truth is the opposite. Only the simple things, repeated daily, generate real transformation. Wash your hands, brush your teeth, think, ask. These small acts are true strength. 9. The story of Itzhak. I met a man named Itzhak. Nothing extraordinary, median grades at school, common work. But he had a habit. He asked questions. No fear of seeming naive. He asked the boss, why do we do it like this? To the neighbor, how do you save energy? To the wife, what did I do to bother you today? At first they laughed at him. Then they began to admire him, because their questions led to unexpected solutions. He understood people, negotiated better. 10 years later, he became a leader, although everyone considered him just one more. The strength of the questions transformed it. If it worked with Itzhak, with my grandfather, and me, it will work with you. 10. What happens in a week? Allow me to paint a picture. You start practicing, noting 3 questions a day. In 2 or 3 days, your mind seems to awaken. You notice details that once went unnoticed. On the 5th day, you realize that your conversations flow more naturally. You hear to understand, not to answer. And on the seventh day, look in the mirror and think, wait, I changed. I see the world otherwise. You got wiser, and that's just the beginning. 11. Why does it change everything? Questions free us. Many live in the automatic. You need to work, marry, buy a car. The wise asks, why do I need that? And finds that there are other ways. Others fight for nonsense. The wise asks, what's most important, to be right or to preserve the relationship? And choose wisdom. Some fear changes. The wise asks, what do I lose if you least try? And advances. The questions change our perspective. And when perspective changes, the whole life transforms. 12. The final advice. I want you to remember one thing, no matter your age, where you live, or what you do. Intelligence is not a privilege of philosophers or geniuses. It is a tool we all have. The question is, do you use it? I ask you to start today. Take a sheet, write 3 questions about your day. Tomorrow, 3 more. In a week, read them. You will be surprised. It will be like a conversation with yourself, only deeper, revealing your own growth. 13. Support and motivation. I know it's not always easy. There are days when everything seems meaningless, when we doubt something changes. But trust, small steps build major changes. No one becomes wise overnight. But if every day you take a small step, in a year it will be a different person. What's more, when you become wiser, everyone around you wins. Your children, your parents, your friends, because you start sharing thoughts and questions that inspire them. You become an example. 14. The synthesis. So here's the simple and direct conclusion. Want to be 60% smarter in a week? Start asking. Want to double your wisdom in a year? Keep asking. Want to become the most insightful person you know? Never stop. Remember what my grandfather said. Wisdom is a habit, and a habit forms in 7 days. 15. An invitation. If this philosophy resonates with you, if these simple stories and advice are helping to see things otherwise, stay here. It's not just another channel, it's a space for those looking to grow. Each video will be like a co-nursed with a friend who speaks the truth and divides experiences. So subscribe, not by the algorithm, but because together we can build a life with more questions, more answers, and, above all, more wisdom. And as we say here, may your questions be wise and your answers useful. Take care, and until the next video.